Hi, folks. I'm Jamie Hiles.
I'm Lydia Judy.
And I am my son's favorite parent, Derek Lemaster.
This is Screen Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week. Go over the horror news, and Derek writes his obituary.
Yeah.
Live on air.
My wife never watches these, so I'm good.
Good. Nobody tell Derek's wife what he says on here.
Yeah.
This is a safe space.
Yeah, I think we're all safe from our wives, me and you, Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob watches, so you better watch what you say about him.
Yeah, he does occasionally watch, I think.
So it's like we're just like playing roulette with that.
Yes, yeah.
Rolling the dice. Roll the dice, baby.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing good. I had a good weekend.
Yeah, I saw your pictures. Looked like you had fun.
I went to the Midsummer Goblin Market, the first ever. It was wonderful.
So where would one go if they were interested in this goblin market?
Well, you should go, first of all, follow Brett Manning's art. Brett is a girl. She's got some different names out there, but I am such a fan of her art, and she's the one who hosted it. So go check her out. She runs The Lantern on Facebook, and it's in Logansport, Indiana, if you want to see her in person in her shop.
Local artists. I like it. Lydia?
Yes.
Always support local artists.
Good
Always
people.
support local art.
Good people.
And real people art, by the way.
Yes.
Just throwing that out there. Derek, how about you?
Pretty good. It was a good weekend. My son sleptwalked for the first time, so as a parent, you're so proud. So, there's that.
That is, that's a strange thing to be proud of, but congratulations.
I correlated it to, him taking his first steps to him taking his first steps to sleep.
That is true. Yeah, he can do it on both levels. Now you have to make sure he doesn't wander into the further.
Yeah.
That is also true. I'm going to tie him to his bed.
That might be abuse, but that's fine.
You run that risk. No, I'm kidding. Although I did sleep on his floor last night, just to make sure he didn't wander out of his room again.
Aww.
Sore back.
Neat.
Yeah, what would have been great is if he just sleptwalked right on top of you.
Yeah, just walked over.
Well, that was so. We don't have a
steps right in your junk.
Yeah, well, my son's old enough. We don't need a baby gate for him, so there's no baby gate that separates the stairs from the loft.
Yeah.
And so, luckily, when he did it, he just got up and muscle memory. He went right into our room and laid on our bed and was like doing weird twitches and stuff. And so when we finally got him awake, I told my wife, I was like, I'm just going to sleep in his room in front of his door so that he can't walk out into the hall and go down the stairs. So,
I once got super drunk and pretended that I was possessed when I went to bed with my wife. So,
oh my God.
Curious, how did that work out for you?
Well, I woke up the next morning and she was incredibly mad at me, and I didn't understand why. She just was short with me, and I was like, "What's going on?" And she was like, "You were awful last night." And I was like, "Why?" She's like, "You don't remember?" And she told me. I just went into the bedroom, and apparently, like when I was, because my buddy was over, he brought me to bed, and apparently I was like, "I'm possessed." Started like pretending like I was the devil, I guess, because I knew it freaked her out. And then when I finally did pass out, I was like snoring so loud, she went and slept on the couch. This is when we were dating, by the way. And she went and slept on the couch, and she had to work the next morning. So she was like real short with me, and I was like, I don't understand. And then she filled me in and was like, yeah, I guess I could see that. I guess I could see why you're angry.
That's hilarious.
So, guys, this week we are talking about the sequel to one of our all-time favorite, scariest flicks, the Amityville Horror, with 1982's Amityville II, The Possession. But before we get into that, I thought we'd take a look at some really small amount of horror news. We don't have a lot It was like a slow week for horror news, guys. But let's do it. This is only horror news adjacent, actually, the first bit, because it's Stephen King, but it's about The Dark Tower. We talked a while back about how Mike Flanagan was trying to develop a series. Remember that for The Dark Tower? Well, that is still a go so far. He is very optimistic that it will happen. He said the writer's strike is slowing it down, but he thinks that it's a thing that is going to happen as a series. What are you guys? Are you guys still optimistic about a Mike Flanagan directed Dark Tower series?
No. No.
Why not?
Mike Flanagan, man.
I said, are you optimistic? And you said no.
Oh, I meant yes. That's my bad. The English language is my first. I'm just saying. But no, I'm super optimistic. I think he's going to do a fantastic job.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like you said, he's Mike Flanagan. He doesn't put out bad stuff.
Yeah.
All he does is excellent shit, right?
Right.
Word.
And if you guys haven't read those Dark Tower books, those are great. They're great reads. They're also really, Derek, you wouldn't be able to, you have to do the audiobook, but.
Are you saying they're more than 200 pages long?
Yeah. And they're also kind of mind bending, and there's like 7 of them. So yeah.
I mean, I don't mind a good, like, thought provoking read, but yeah, anything above 200 pages, it's not for me.
You have to listen to it at that point.
Yep. I got to do other things.
All right. Well, speaking of TV news, we got some Crystal Lake news. 2 writers, how do you say this guy's name? Tananariv Dew and Stephen Barnes are having brainstorming sessions for the new Friday the 13th series. So it is, they have a podcast together. So they have their experience in the writer's room, which they called, they couldn't call it a writer's room. It was more a think tank. Every day for 6 weeks, they met with Brian Fuller, and they had people they called his 3 lieutenants, and they would brainstorm ideas for the show and break it down into meticulous detail. How does that make you guys feel? What do you think of that writing process?
Wouldn't that be fun? I feel like I would love that.
It would be
so much fun.
A lot of fun. Yeah.
It would be great.
It'd be the best.
I'm glad we're on the same page.
I would love to do that so much.
Just
I also feel like
every day, like
yeah. So let's talk about this story that you just developed, and let's break it down.
Yeah, and like figure out ways to like, tie things together.
Yeah, and then you could say, that idea you had. What if you do this? And I'll say, yeah. And then we'll do this. And then Derek's like, what if you do this? And I'll say, no. No,
Derek. Bad Derek.
You can't put that in a post-apocalyptic world, okay?
Yeah.
It's like it's a prequel series, Derek. First of all, Gabriel's not even been alive yet.
I mean, that's true. That's obstacle number 1.
That's so funny.
And the apocalypse clearly has not happened.
This is the kind of stuff that didn't happen when they were making the original movies,
Oh, no. Those were literally movie by movie. I mean, the first one was a standalone story. They're like, shit, this was a hit. Let's make another one. What do we do? Well, why do we make Jason the killer? That's stupid. That's dumb. Well, I think it's a good idea. And guess what? That guy was correct.
Yeah.
Steve Miner, I believe, was the one that was like, yeah, I like that idea. Let's do it. And thankfully, that's the idea they rolled with. But yeah, each time they're like, yeah, he's dead, but he could come back. And then they're like, here's another one.
Then one time it's an imposter.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. We have we have one more to get to that one because we still have to do, I think we've done 3, right? So we have to do part 4 next.
I think so.
Yeah, which is very exciting when we get to that one. I like that one.
Yes.
Okay, this next bit is Blumhouse is producing an adaptation of Clemence Mechelon's novel, The Quiet Tenant, into either a limited series or a streaming movie. It's a story of a serial killer narrated by those closest to him. His 13-year-old daughter, his girlfriend, and a captive victim he has earmarked for death.
Ooh.
That sounds pretty freaking cool, right?
That does sound pretty good.
It sounds weird.
Sounds interesting.
I mean, it does sound all those things, but it's I'm trying to put myself in that perspective. Like, how could you have somebody captive and then have a family and them not know what's going on? Maybe they do know what's going on. We don't know.
Well, that's what happens all the time.
I know that's the crazy thing about it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how that happens.
It's like the BTK, man. BTK was a leader of his church and a family man, and had a wife and daughter, and was binding, torturing and killing these people. Crazy.
Yep.
We all wear masks, man. We all wear masks.
Are you quoting The Mask?
No.
Mr. Ipkiss, we all wear masks.
I mean, I guess, but I feel like that's many movies, but yeah.
Yeah. That's what I think of when you say it. And then finally, we spoke earlier off mic about James Mangold, who is directing Indiana Jones in the Dial of Destiny. And so he was asked about his upcoming project, which is DC's Swamp Thing. And he has said that he described DC Swamp Thing as a gothic horror movie.
Gothic horror movie.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah.
I'd be down for that.
That's that's the approach. What do you guys think of it?
Okay.
What do you think, Lydia?
I love it. Sounds right up my alley.
I was going to say, Lydia, if you didn't love that, I don't know you.
I don't even
You
know
love monsters.
If
and
I was
you
just
love gothic.
If I was just like, that doesn't sound right. No, I don't like it.
Like, who are you?
Who are you? What have you done with Lydia?
Yes, you imposter, you. Yeah, I'm excited. I like all of James Mangold's jams. I'm going to see his latest on Thursday. It's a little film called Indiana Jones and Dial of Destiny, if you haven't heard of it. And see how that goes.
I know I'm not like I don't know anything about this, but it'd be really cool if it was set in like Louisiana, like on an old plantation next to a swamp. And anyway, this is my dream. I'm just sharing it with you.
He doesn't go into that much detail. He just said he's been toying for years about the idea of making a kind of Frankenstein movie, and this kind of slots into that. Mm-hmm. So that's exciting to hear.
By making swamp Thing Frankenstein style.
Yep. I mean,
have you ever seen Swamp Thing?
I've never seen Swamp Thing. I've seen Creature from the Black Lagoon. So that's kind of what I'm picturing. That's very not gothic at all.
Yeah, well, Swamp Thing is he's a DC superhero.
I gotcha. Mm-hmm.
But he is a bionicle, like he's made from plants. He's like like this botanical like monster. And that, guys, wraps up this week's horror news. I told you it was a short one. Was not a lot of horror news going on. All right. So, picture it. It's 1982. You're sitting in the theater and you see a preview for an upcoming film. And they promise a sequel to the most terrifying film ever made, the Amityville Horror. And it's called Amityville II, The Possession. And then you sit and watch it, and you're like, wow, that was quite a bit of incest.
I mean, only a little bit, really.
You get done watching it, and you put your arm around your sister.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, it's a little too much.
So, Lydia, you picked this.
Yes.
You've never seen this before. This is your first watch?
I picked this out of curiosity.
Well, there is literally no joke, like at least 70 Amityvilles, probably.
Yes.
There's at least 30 for real. So.
I figured we gotta make a dent in these.
Start rolling through them. Yes. So you went in blind. You hadn't even seen a preview.
Yep.
Derek, how about you?
That is a ditto. I had not seen this either. So this is the first time watch for me.
Wow, that's interesting. This was not a first time watch for me. I've seen this movie several times. It's just one of those, like, yeah, this is like the fourth time I've seen this movie.
What the hell?
Well, it's when I was young, I watched it a couple times. Like it just was, like I think it was on a tape that had Amityville and Amityville II, so I just watched it.
Yeah.
And then so I probably watched it even more than 4 times without knowing it. And then I watched it. I rented it when I was going through the Amityvilles. I got through to part 4 or 5, I think, and I was like, tapping out. I'm done with the Amityvilles. But I rented it then, and then I watched it. Last time I saw it actually was like on the Sci-Fi Channel. It was on one day, and I was like bored. There's nothing else. I was like, all right. And I flipped to it, and it was about a third of the way into the movie. So I was like, oh, okay. So I have a long way to go, and then watched it. But I hadn't seen it in at least 10, 15 years. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
But the thing that is I remembered pretty much all of it. Like everything. I knew what was going to happen. The order kind of changed a little bit. And I've got some stuff to talk about the structure of this movie when we get into it.
Yeah.
That I have some thoughts on. But where do you guys want to start with this thing?
Where we do every week.
The beginning?
In the beginning.
Oh my God. Well, sure. We'll talk about the best part of the movie, the scariest part of the movie, most effective part of the movie, which is the credits, just like the last time.
The credits are pretty good.
The credits are great because we get that fucking great song.
Yeah.
Da, da, da. That's the best. Da, 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 da.
It is super
That's a
creepy.
creepy tune. I like it.
Yeah.
And we get like shots of it, of the house and everything. It's effective, just like it was in the first movie. And then the movie starts and it's not very scary.
The family pulls up and they're just so crazy.
They
so
are
immediately
a weird cast of people.
Yeah.
Well, for the fact that they got old Burt Young, Polly himself,
Dude,
to play the dad, who is literally I think he takes the cake as the worst character that we've seen on this podcast. And we've seen some real sons of bitches.
The whole podcast?
Well, yeah, I mean,
who
was
would
the
rival
one that
him?
The only one that would rival him is Bev's husband.
No, man, I think he's worse. I think this guy's worse.
No, I think he's worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. The only one that rivals him is Bev's husband.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
This guy sucks.
Yeah, from the get-go, he is a POS, and I'm not talking about a point of sale.
The only redeemable thing he does in the beginning is he like tells the kids to get away from. So he kind of fools you at first because he's like, kids, get away from there, and they're like, yes, what? And yes, sir. And he kind of like salutes them, like laughs. So you're like, oh, he's just playing around. Yeah. I didn't because I've seen this. Then Sonny pulls up and he's like, you mother. First the wife pulls up and he's like, where's Sonny? He's behind. And he's like immediately kind of mean to his wife and daughter. And then Sonny pulls up and he's like, you motherfucking you. Like just instantly.
Well, and his son is like trying to have a moment with his dad, like, oh man, Dad, you should have seen it. Like, I broke all the speed limit rules and all that stuff. I'm telling you about it. And then it's more like he like wants to slap upside the head. He didn't do that, but he berated him, and it just really
broke him down.
Yeah,
yeah.
You could tell, like, not a good guy.
Immediately, he was like, listen, you're clearly in your early 30s. You're still living with me.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I was like, what is this guy supposed to be in high school?
I was so confused too about that. Like,
there were a couple of moments where I was confused. Like like right off of this, he's like going into his room. I'm moving past maybe, I don't think there wasn't a lot that happened.
Right.
When he's taking his stuff up to his room.
Yeah. And the sister is up there.
And the sister. They had like
I was like, are they a couple?
At first I was like, he's got to be the stepbrother.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, it must be the stepbrother. They would not be acting like this.
It's all really weird. There's just a weird family dynamic.
I was like, maybe she's like the nanny. Like maybe she's not related. Like maybe she was just like a live-in nanny.
No, they're related.
Confused.
They're related. And like fully related.
I waited for the confirmation later in the movie. Just for clarity, and I'm like,
nope.
They're
related.
Brother and sister.
Yeah, no, they're related. Yeah, that's funny. That as soon as they get in there, they have their speech. And at first, it's a little weird, but it's not incredibly weird because he's making fun of her and
Yeah,
they're being little.
Kind of like,
there's some siblings.
This is just strangely written. Is kind of how you're like walk away from it. Like, well, that was kind of.
Well,
like,
I don't know if
strange.
it's necessarily strangely written or strangely executed, like blocked.
You're right.
Executed, because I think on the page you could totally read it as, you're ugly, blah blah.
Yeah.
Blah, blah. And then they play it more like won't
sexy.
you sit beside me? Yeah, hey, and you're like, and I think maybe that's because they're gonna lean into it later, but you're like, they're not there yet.
So it's just really confusing.
Yeah. So
Strange.
There's a scene that made me laugh out loud in the beginning of this. The mom goes and turns on the sink, and it just starts bleeding, and it's like wah, wah, like this music. It starts bleeding, and she's like, and then it turns regular, and she's like, oh. I was like,
yeah.
She just laughs it off.
Like, if nothing else, you have some serious fucking rust issues, lady, that you need to get looked at because your family's going to die.
Yeah.
Like, do not drink that.
Yeah, whatever you do, I wouldn't even bathe in it. Like, just stay away from the water. You might need to boil your water.
Yeah,
but it just cracked me up.
I like the scene when she goes in the basement though. Like that's when I was kind of in it at that point. I was like, okay.
Yeah. So this movie,
this is where it gets good.
This movie has, I think, the one thing I will say about this movie that I can 100% say for sure is I think that this movie is more interesting than the Amityville Horror.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I think that the camera work is way more interesting. It's way better. Because the movie, there's some really good, I think that it's actually really well shot. I think there's some really cool camera moves.
Yeah, there's some,
I think the cinematography is good.
Inspired.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely some cool, there's a shot that's 100% ripped off from the Evil Dead. But yeah, there's some cool, overhead tilt shots, which is cool. And I was like, yeah, I like the way this movie's shot, and I like the way it's lit. I think it's lit really cool and stuff too. It's just not scary, but the basement stuff is cool.
It is cool. I thought it was fun. Although when she gets the mover guy to go check out that extra room and shit's falling on him and he's just having a bad day in there. Then he comes out and she's like, oh, and he's like, oh, it's okay.
What I like is he just stays in there way too long.
Way too long, man.
He's just like, ah!
It stressed me out for all the wrong reasons too.
I'm like, get the fuck out of there.
Like, oh man,
why are you just standing there?
Walking around in shit.
Yeah. He
Later
sets
on,
that fancy flashlight down and he turns around, gets shit on for a minute, and then picks it back up. And I was like, thank God he picked up that flashlight. Don't leave that nice flashlight in there.
Batteries to die on that thing.
I was like, this is stressing me out for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah, the best part, she grabs it. She's like, "This is a really good one."
Yeah.
Good. I thought you were going to give me one of the wind-up guys.
Yeah. Love it.
There's something really funny later on, talking about the basement. Later on, when Sonny's down there, and he goes in and looks in the crawl space area, which, by the way, I guess is supposed to be the red room, but it's completely not. Instead, there's literally an entire fucking castle underneath their house.
It does seem to be that way, yeah.
You look down, you see like just a dungeon, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I did think that was weird, but I also was like, I was okay with it. I was like, this is kind of neat. Like, this is kind of cool.
I mean,
I like how the door opened.
Yeah, the door open is really cool when the legs pop out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So when he goes down in the basement, he sees an arm like coming out of the wall or something, right?
Oh, yeah. That arm is not the best.
It's not
because it's very confusing. It's very confusing at what it is at first.
Yep.
Because the way the shots composed, I couldn't tell what it was at first until he like moved it, and I was like, "Oh, that's a hand."
Yeah.
So and like, I just was so confused by it.
I also feel like they almost expect you to know the lore.
Kind of, yeah. Kind of, which is okay.
It's okay, it's like, but
they're building mystery, I suppose. But
yeah, it's kind of weird at the same time.
Yeah, some of it. Yeah, I would agree.
Like the arm, like that's supposed to be like part of the lore of like the Red Room, right?
I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. That's the thing.
I don't know what it's supposed to be. It kind of looked like a rock monster.
It did kind of look like a rock monster.
Yeah, I thought Atreyu was going to come out.
I was thinking it's because like
they look like big strong hands.
It's my favorite movie. I was just thinking that it was like built with like the bodies like in the walls, like there were like all these people that like were killed in there or something.
No, it's supposed to, because he talks about it later. It was like that was built upon an Indian burial ground,
right?
Yeah.
Well, it was which, by the way, is not true. Right? Yes, which is also not true.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so it's just all this weird information that they expect you to just understand.
I guess. Yeah. So let's talk about. Go ahead.
If I can't remember if it's this part or maybe a little bit later, but one scene that like really got me was the mom is like, "Oh, you two," talking about the two younger kids. "You like go into the kitchen and do something." And they walk in there, and the one kid puts a bag over.
Yes.
Oh my god.
We'll get to that.
And I'm like, oh, they're gonna kill one of the kids off. Right?
Yeah. We'll get to that here in a minute. That's a really funny scene.
That's the scariest scene.
Well, the next part of that's the funniest scene. So let's talk about first. Let's talk about old Anthony, Burt Young, because we kind of touched on him a little bit, but he's a terribly abusive person.
Polly.
Yeah.
We'll just call him Polly. It's fine.
Everything about him is awful. So we get our first, like, one of my critiques of this movie is that the supernatural stuff happens too openly, too fast. I feel like it doesn't escalate up because why wouldn't they just move out like immediately?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because they get the first knocking things, and it's because they're kind of crazy, the possessed, and whatever. But I think it happens a little too quick.
Well, and like it's just completely unbelievable. So like the real catalyst to what kind of character Polly is, that's what I'm going to call him. Let's just get over it. But is the kids are in their room, the two little ones.
Before that.
And these paintbrushes.
Yeah, well, before that, because remember, the door knocks first.
Oh, does it knock?
Yeah, the door knocks. They go down and check it.
Yeah.
And then there's nobody there. They go to check it again. He grabs a gun and goes and checks it. And then that's when the paintbrushes come alive. They draw basically Jody. I think that's supposed to be Jody on the wall. They draw a picture of Jody, write the word pigs, and says, "Honor thy father." Polly runs up with that gun, and there's a hilarious scene where he has the gun, and he's running like through the rooms, and he like does this like squat run into
I did notice the squat run. Yeah.
He's and I was cracking up. So he goes into the kids' rooms, like you said, Derek, and sees this painting on the wall, sees the window wide open, and he's like, "Why did you draw this on the wall?"
There is no reasonable person who would be like, "Oh, it must have been these two young kids." I mean, how the hell are they going to get up to the top of the, the part of the wall to draw this? You know what I mean? Like, none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
And then he takes his belt off and he just starts beating them.
Yeah. So he starts
like they
beating
did in
them.
the 80s, I guess.
Yeah. Starts beating them. The wife stands in. He slaps her. She goes and fights for him, grabs him by his face, says she's going to kill him. He starts hitting her. The daughter comes down, and then Sonny comes down, picks up the gun, and puts it like right in his cheek. And I was like, do it.
Yeah, you weren't the only one.
It's like nobody would blame if you did that and didn't kill anybody else. You'd be the hero of this story. We'd be like, roll credits. What do you guys think of that scene? What do you think, Lydia?
This is your first watch.
What were you thinking?
That was pretty intense. I don't know how, but I missed the paintbrushes and the squat run. Like, I missed that. Like, I probably looked away for like 2 seconds. So I missed that part. But and I guess I looked up and like the mom was like, "I'm gonna kill you," like, and they're all fighting. So I was like, I probably should have rewound at that point.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So I was like, dang, this is intense. And he picks up that gun and I was like, where is this going? Like, yeah, because that's what I was thinking was like the DeFeo family, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
I was like, what is going on? And then the mom like takes the gun. The mom is so great. I just love her.
She's great and awful at the same time because she's keeping her family in this situation.
Yeah, I mean the actress, I think.
Oh, the actress is great. Yes, yeah. That's fun. It's fun. When basically because Sonny's becoming possessed already at this point because the family goes out to church or they go out somewhere and he stays home, and we get this extended scene where he is becoming possessed. It's actually a really good scene where he goes, hears the noise. Mm-hmm. He goes down to the basement and he sees like the force is the camera. And he runs upstairs. We get like what do you guys think of that scene?
Like a little chase scene.
Yeah.
I think it's very effective.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty good. And it parts of it gave me like Conjuring vibes.
Yeah. I got Evil Dead vibes throughout it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess as a whole, because it's like a haunted house kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, okay, we're coming to a new house. It's like fall. You know, you kind of have that like aesthetic going on. And then like something about that, I was just like, this could be genuinely scary, like The Conjuring was. You know, that's kind of how I was thinking.
Just that 80s cheese couldn't come off.
Right, yeah, which is where like the Evil Dead comes in real heavy.
Yeah.
Well, and this is
minus the excellent execution. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I mentioned this maybe off camera, but like this scene in particular, like if it were made now, it would be so much scarier because there's so many opportunities like for background movement or like you could like hide things in the background to like really give you like kind of amp it up a little bit that they do in tons of movies today, but it wasn't, I don't know how prevalent it was maybe even back then, but I feel like there could have been a little bit more to add to it.
Like the lighting, the atmosphere, like the music would have been so different,
It could have been a little, it could have been a little tighter. Yeah, a little. But the way it's shot is the movie knows what it is. It's fun. Like it's cheesy fun at that point, but there's some, that's what I think that's the best sequence in the movie, honestly.
Oh, 100%.
That
I
sequence.
agree with you.
Yeah,
because it's good.
A couple of missed opportunities.
Yeah. Oh, I agree 100%. But I think that it's the best, the most well realized scene in the movie because it's a sequence that had a vision and it executed that vision for the most part. Then we get that weird like prosthetic stomach where it's like sucking in. I don't know what the fuck
I
that
don't
means.
even mind that.
Yeah.
I love it. It's practical. I love it.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just don't know what it means.
That's
Like,
where me and Jake said the same thing. Jake was like, "So what's happening?"
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know
think
what's
he's
happening.
being possessed.
Is it like stomping him? Is it like sucking him in from within? I don't know about any of that. I just think it's a really great visual, practical visual effect, and I'm down for it.
Yep, and it's gross looking, so it works.
Yeah, so pretty much immediately following this scene, when he's possessed, he decides he's gonna go and talk to his sister.
Oh, talk to. That's an interesting way you phrase that.
You guys, what were you thinking during this scene? Because I knew it was coming, so I was just like, yep, here it is.
It's so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable.
It is.
Yeah.
It was telegraphed, though, because we already talked about it. There was a flirtatious element to that scene early in the movie. So it felt like there was some tension between them, and then he's like, "Oh, my inhibitions are gone. I'm possessed, so I might as well."
It's really here's what's really strange about it. What's really strange is like, so the beginning of the scene, the first part of the seduction, is somewhat realistic. Like he's like just telling her, oh yeah, I think you're beautiful. We play a game where you're like a photographer, blah blah. But then he tells her to take off her nightgown, and she says, "What?" Which is the normal reaction. That's the correct response. What? And then she's like, "Come on, okay, just for a minute." Unless we're making a porno, that's not a thing.
No.
Well, and he at least has an out. He's possessed.
Yes, she's not. Yeah, she's not at all.
Yeah,
so she
it makes no sense.
And she's just like topless, being like, yeah, huh. And then he sits down beside her. She's like, okay, that's enough. Sits down beside her, and immediately it's like, I stole your panties.
Yeah,
like, that's so hot. Let's do it.
No, she's like, why? Why would you do that?
I don't understand.
Yeah. Oh, it's so awful. It's so awful.
Yeah, and he starts kissing her, and then the best part is, so you're like, well, I mean, maybe they just made it. We don't know how far it goes. Then the next shot is her in confession. She's like, I went all the way with a friend.
A family. I mean, a friend.
Awful.
Yeah.
In some ways, he's my best friend.
Yeah, you could say we're practically related. We love each other so much. Well, the best part is she goes, well, we're not. We don't love each other. It's like, well, but what? But you kind of do. You could lie because you kind of do. You're family. But the best part is she runs out of confession after she says, he did it to hurt God. She runs
which
out.
Is fucking crazy.
Yeah, she runs out, and then the priest 100% breaks the rules. And he's like, wonder who the fuck that was. Confession is supposed to be anonymous. That's kind of the point of it.
Yeah.
But he's just like, who the fuck was it? Oh, yeah, it's that chick. Yeah. The new family. Because they just, remember, arrived shortly before. And let's talk about that kitchen scene you're talking about, Derek. Because the priest comes over to bless the house, right? Mm-hmm. So he comes over, and as you call him, Polly, is just like didn't go to church. He's a complete dickhead to the priest when he gets there.
What are you doing here?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, won't you, whatever. He goes in, and then he's like, you want to smoke, priest? He's like, no, thanks. And he's like, hey, go get the priest see if the priest wants something to drink. The kids, so that's when they run into the kitchen and do that fucking bag thing that you talked about, which I was thinking the same thing of too. I was like, as a filmmaker, I was like, there is no way I'd put a plastic bag over a kid's head.
Yeah, no kidding.
Dude,
just would not happen. Just would not happen.
No way.
In our next film, we're gonna do a kid's head in a plastic bag the entire time. It's gonna be a CG plastic bag, clearly.
Yeah. Dude,
I was like, what?
That was the scariest part of the movie.
Yeah, because it was.
I was horrified.
I did not like. I was like, what are you doing?
I'm not even a parent, but like the thought of that happening, like your kids are just playing. That's exactly what happens. Like
that's why they take plastic bags away. Yeah.
Not give those to children.
Lydia, I've got stories, and I don't know if Jamie, have I told the one about my aunt and my mom's car?
Yes, you told that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It happens, Lydia.
But the rest of the scene cracks me up. So Sonny goes in and shakes hands with the priest.
Oh, when he's blessing the upstairs?
No. This is when he's downstairs still. Remember, she introduces him. He's down in the study. He's down in the study, and Sonny comes in. She introduces him as her firstborn. He shakes the priest's hand, and as soon as he does, everything in the kitchen, the fridge flies open, and everything flies out. And
I thought that happened upstairs.
No, it's downstairs
from him.
No, that's later. That's later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kitchen like hand, falls apart.
It flies apart, and it's so over the top. It made me laugh so hard because it's like the cut is as soon as they touch hands.
Yeah. It's like this is why.
So then old Burt Young goes in there, and he's like, "You kids, what are you doing in here?" It's like, clearly they fucking wrecked your entire kitchen in a matter of seconds.
Yeah,
clearly
that makes total sense. That's how
he starts smacking him around in front of the priest. And the priest is like, "Hey, don't hit that kid." He's like, "You mind your own, priest. Don't tell me how to raise my kids." It's like, I would have, if I was the priest, called CPS immediately.
Yeah. Don't you think the house was like affecting them all though? Like,
no. Well, yes, but I think it more is just amplifying who they are because we know he was a piece of shit before.
Oh yeah.
Remember, as soon as Sonny pulls up, he's like, "You motherfucker!" So it's like
it's weird because when they pull up, they're like happy, and then like he's got like some weird issues, but like then like when they're at the dinner table,
that's
and that mirror falls, and they just start like screaming.
That's who this guy is. He's just a terrible person. And
which,
it might be
way,
amplifying it, but it's who he is.
Was he not the one hanging the freaking mirror?
He was. Sonny was like down there holding it for him. He's like,
as soon as it falls, he turns to his son. He's like, "I didn't do anything, Dad." Like, God damn.
He's like, "When you get off of work, because you've been there for 15 years, because you're clearly 35, you're going to be in trouble."
Yeah. I was waiting whenever he had his birthday for them to be like, "Oh yeah, he's 18."
They put one candle because they couldn't put all 45 on there.
Right. Right. Exactly.
That birthday scene though. Ugh.
That birthday scene is creepy. So
but, I mean, we'll get to it.
Well, so it basically at this point. So let's talk about the priest for a minute. What do you guys think of him as a character?
Yes. I don't know what I think of him. It's one of those. I'm like, at first I was like, okay, I like this guy. And then like, as the movie goes on and it kind of becomes like about him.
Yeah.
I'm like,
well, he kind of becomes the lead.
Guy.
Yeah. He kind of becomes the lead. And I don't mind him. I think he's the actor I like. I think the actor does a really good job.
Yeah.
And I think the character is a strong, like he's just a good priest, just a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Not like a flawed evil man or anything.
I think it's like the pacing or something that's like,
well, it is the pacing, and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But the priest is kind of just like a normal bland priest. He's not like Rod Steiger going blind, being like,
yeah, that's
in the first one.
Pretty bland character.
Yeah, he's just kind of blasé. But she tries to reach out to him multiple times, and then he comes over to bless the house again. And this time he goes upstairs. This is what you were talking about, Derek. He goes upstairs and he's blessing the house, and he meets Sonny up there. And Sonny's like, hiding from him essentially because the void. By the way, the demon communicates with him via Walkman.
Yeah, that's how they do it, man.
It's the best way.
The devil is in the music.
Clearly. So he's like, he's here, stay away. So he hides upstairs. The priest goes to him, and then nothing really happens. He's just like, yeah, blah, blah. Yeah. I just don't feel good. And he's like, well, I'll see you later. Big gulps, huh? And then like walks out, and then he starts blessing the bedroom, and it starts blood, like the shaker starts shaking out blood everywhere. It's all over his hands. And they react in the most melodramatic way humanly possible. Pukes. And I was like,
yeah, that was a weird puke too. It was just like, that was nasty.
What do you think of that bit?
I thought it was good because the mom was in it, and I think she's like the best character in the movie.
Because she's just over the top.
When she's so over the top, but like when she's scared, I'm like, yes, like that's what's supposed to be in a horror movie like this.
Yeah,
like,
she's definitely over the
scared.
top. But she's kind of over the top about when she feels the hint. She's like,
yeah.
I
don't know. I just enjoyed her.
She's about a quarter of a turn away from
Maximum Overdrive.
Just a quarter away. She tunes it down enough that she's not quite there, but she's a quarter away from it.
Did anyone notice that like he seemed either like that was a strange request or apprehensive when she was like, "Oh, here, bless our room," and he blesses the room and he goes to walk out. She was like, "Bless our bed."
Yes, because
like,
she,
okay.
The daughter had said like, I think like dad has been forcing our mom basically.
Which, by the way, is such a weird scene.
That was a weird scene. Yeah.
Why would she just mention that? She's just like, it's like, what? She's just like, I think that mommy doesn't want to make love with daddy anymore. And I was like
what?
Mm-hmm.
Why are you talking about it like that?
And why does it matter to you? What are you doing?
Yeah, like she like cares about her parents making love.
I mean,
if that's gonna get like ass, he's extra mean.
It's
because I think the conversation is more of she doesn't want to do it, and daddy forces her to.
Yeah, it is.
I mean,
but it's a weird conversation.
Drama.
Yeah,
but the dialogue as written is
for
really
sure
weird.
Could have been delivered in a different way.
Could have been written in a different way. It could have been, I don't know, natural. Like there could have been something that brings it up instead of her just out of the blue. That's like if I was just like, we're just talking, and I was like, man, I really had the shits today. And you guys are just like, okay.
Oh my God. I've told you a story about a conversation I had with somebody. I'm going to be super vague, and I won't tell it at the end. So let's go ahead and move on.
Okay. So
you know what I'm talking about, though.
I will probably, but super weird, right? Hilarious, super weird. But yeah, the best part is, the water is back. Like he checks it, everything's back to normal. It just was hallucination, and Sonny apparently did it, the demon. And he's like, which, by the way, the actor that plays Sonny by the end of this movie goes up here.
Yeah.
He cranks it to 11 with his acting.
Yeah.
He's evil.
I mean,
Love it. We're in here. Basically, the director had saw Evil Dead and The Exorcist and was like, let's make fucking both of those together.
Right?
But call it Amityville.
That.
You see?
Which is, that makes me like it a little bit more if I think about it like that.
Yeah, because, so, you guys want to talk about that birthday scene?
Yeah.
Go ahead,
weird.
Lydia.
It's freaking weird. Well, first of all, the sister is like really trying to talk to the priest about what happened between her and her brother. And he kind of is too busy and like, he seems like he doesn't want...
vacation. He's got a vacation planned and he's scared, I think.
He doesn't want to get involved, which is just like, ugh. And then, because you're like, please help this girl.
Yeah.
And this family. But so it's like, she's like, it's his birthday. Like, you need to come to this birthday, please. And he's like, I'm busy. I'm doing something else. So it's his birthday and the kids are running down the stairs. They're saying happy birthday. you look like a monkey and you smell like one too, and everybody's having a great time. And then Sonny walks down the stairs. He's so slow. Like he just hugs everyone individually, like a Wizard of Oz moment of like, I loved you most of all, Scarecrow sister. Like,
there's a couple things that happen during this because he's his normal self through the first part of it. When he's talking to the kids, like he's, like when he's hugging them, it's kind of like he doesn't want to let them go because he's. And then when he hugs her, he like rubs up and down her back, and his mom sees it, and she's kind of like, ugh,
I know what you did.
So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I will
there's
say
the scene where he's staring at them, where he's staring at the family because the dad, he goes over to the dad, and the dad
I was gonna say
hugs him. They kind of
had a moment. Yeah, they had the only
break the ice a little bit. Yeah.
So
and everybody claps.
That everybody claps when they hug.
Well, it's like they're finally together. They're finally trying to kill one another.
We're reconciling.
So they hug for a minute, and then he stares at his family, and you hear the voice saying, you look at them. They're pathetic. They'd be better if they were dead. And he's like, no, I can't. And so then the rest of the guests arrive, and they're like, hey, Sonny. And he's like, oh, upstairs. Just leaves his own party, and nobody fucking wonders where he is.
Yeah.
Except for the sister.
Well, that's because she's like, I'm feeling a little boning. I need some bones.
It is weird that she goes up. She's clearly like in distress about what happened, and then like suddenly
there's a moment here.
like she is like
not
in distress about it, and is like in love with him.
Yeah,
she is so confused. But she goes up and she was like, "Oh, I heard you calling for me," and she was like, I think you're confused or regretful.
Guilty. You're feeling guilty.
I'm not.
Yeah, you're feeling guilty. Says. I'm not. And then he's like, get out of here, you bitch. By the way, completely turns into Two-Face.
He does. But I think that's his
his makeup.
Well, no, that's his inner conflict. Like
it's supposed to be the duality.
The demon's trying to get him to kill her, and he's trying to get her to go away.
Well, him telling her to go away was saving her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the makeup was Two-Face.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was old.
The transformation is half complete.
Yes. And basically after that, so here's my biggest issue with the movie is this next scene coming up. So we get the murder scene next. And it's okay. Like the tension, I mean, there's some tension in it. It's shot okay. It's not shot as well as like the earlier scene. There's actually a really funny shot when she looks up and sees him and he's got that fucking monkey face going on.
Yes, I literally said, you look like a monkey.
Yeah. He's like, and the way he's like framed and like there's a like cheesy ass. I was like, I laughed out loud. I was like,
It was good though. It was good though.
Yeah, so he goes through and he basically kills the entire family.
Yes.
And there's some tension in it. It's not bad. What do you guys think of that scene?
Mostly just upsetting.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. Yeah.
Like you're like, damn. Like the kids.
Because you're thinking
kids and everything.
They're kind of making you lean towards she's gonna be like the final girl, maybe.
Yeah.
And if she's not. And herein lies my problem with the movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
That happens way too early. Because we still have like 40
half
minutes.
Hour at least.
Yeah, we have 40 minutes. I checked it. We had like 40 minutes left in the movie.
I was ready for the movie to be done.
Yeah. And I was like,
right after this, I was like, okay, we're done, right? And then it just kept going.
40 minutes left. And I was like, the problem with it is, the problem is there's just no stakes anymore. We don't care if Sonny is saved. We don't give a shit about him. We just watch him do this awful thing. The priest, he's fine. But again, it's like the tension should have been about whether the priest could get there in time to save the family.
Yeah.
Because they're the innocent, especially the children. They're the innocents.
Yeah.
They're who needs to be protected. And it's like, well, Sonny was possessed, you see. I get that, sure, but there's just inherently no tension in it, right?
Not as much of a reason to like him. Like they didn't set up why Sonny is awesome and cool, you know?
Right. Because he
like,
gets possessed pretty quickly. Yeah.
Well, and even whenever you get to the end, like there is no like resolution for his character because he's going to jail. He's going to
jail. Yeah, he's going to prison.
There's no way they're going to let him off on he was possessed. Like,
well, of course not.
Works.
No.
I guess his soul is saved.
Yeah, that's the stakes. I guess
right.
The stakes are supposed to be they're trying to save. He's about to die, and they're trying to save his soul. The problem is we don't have enough of emotional connection to him that we don't care.
Oh, you mean after he slaughtered his family?
Exactly.
And slept with his sister?
Yes, and slept with his sister. Right. There's just no tension there. It just the last 40 minutes of this movie is a slog. It's a drag. It
is.
It's completely unnecessary. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's just like so we do get so first of all, this guy who is the older gentleman, is he like the police chief?
I took it as
or is he a lawyer?
Chief.
I thought he was a police chief too.
Yeah.
So he sends his officers away because first of all, he's in the hospital and he writes, "Save me."
On his arm, yeah.
On his arm. It disappears.
Never mind.
It's that disappearing, reappearing ink.
Yes.
It's like blood like seeps out of his skin and then seeps back in. Like he didn't like write it. It appeared and disappeared.
Right. It's really weird.
It makes zero sense. But it was kind of cool though.
We get the scene before that, which is actually pretty the acting's good when he's like when they're in the jail cell and they're talking.
Yeah.
He's possessed.
Yeah.
I think the acting's pretty good in that
scene.
That
was cool.
When he's like, talking about
master his craft.
On his craft. Yeah. He's been acting at that point since at least the 60s. But yeah, like that's a good scene, I think. I think that's a really solid scene.
Yeah. And it's almost like that is the beginning of a different movie.
Right.
It is.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, you're like, okay, we're
in a different movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he sneaks him away. By the way, why wouldn't the police chief send him with any kind of backup or just something? Went with him.
I know.
Instead, they're like, yeah, this guy literally slaughters his entire family, but let me just send him out with the priest. And his plan is just to drag him to the church and get clubbed down. And he just runs away.
Yeah.
Well, first there's fire that stops him.
Which was kind of cool.
Then we get to the Amityville. I'm really confused about the passage of time.
Yeah.
Why? Because the house looks like it's been abandoned for years.
Moved out. Yeah.
And run down. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's empty.
And we get a funeral scene with all the caskets, and he's still wearing his clothes that he got arrested in the back seat of the police car. Then when we're in the jail cell, he's still the whole rest of the time he's still wearing his regular clothes. He would have been in prison clothes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, did this all happen the next night? But I don't understand how that's even. He still would have been processed. None of this makes sense.
Yeah. You know what I think should have happened? I think they should have just switched it to an actual like exorcism movie, like in the prison. Like what better place to exorcise a demon?
It could have been cool. It would have been
a prison where he's locked up and he can't get out.
It would have been a cooler. Yeah. But they needed to, because it's an Amityville movie, had to end in the house. They had to get him back to the house.
You know what I think? I think they should have had many planning sessions in the development of this movie to figure out how they were going to end it. Is what they should have done.
They should have had like 6 days at least.
At least. So we'll talk about the alternate cuts of this movie in a minute. But so this happens. What do you guys think of the scene in the house?
I was so over
just
the
done.
Movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, I was like, I mean, I guess I'll see how it ends, but like, I'm not gonna lie to you, my attention like waned at this point.
Mine
like,
did too.
When's it gonna end?
Yeah,
What a roller coaster, huh?
Yeah, I think all of ours did at that point. Like, kind of at that same point, we're just kind of like, this is still going.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a shot.
Ends, but...
There's a shot that cracks me up in this bit where we get like he walks into Sonny's room upstairs and he looks up and Sonny's like,
yeah, like a haunted house attraction.
Yeah, and flies down. I just died. I was like, we go into a completely different movie and he's all like, ah. Yeah. And it becomes like straight up an exorcism movie. Like it's The Exorcist. And he even turns into her and is like, you wanted to fuck me. And you're like,
yeah.
You're like, exactly.
Yeah.
That poor girl having to do that also. I was like, oh God.
And the makeup they had her in was atrocious.
It was supposed to be though.
Yeah, that's like super clown makeup they had her in. And so he comes back to the evil and he's like, take me, which is The Exorcist, by the way. It's The Exorcist.
Yeah.
It's literally the ending of The Exorcist. But he's like, take me, God. And then we get this practical effect that's really cool, but I have no idea what the fuck is happening, where his skin starts splitting open.
And he births a demon?
A demon, like
maybe?
Party City Halloween mask is underneath of it.
Okay, but I really liked it.
It's like that. So the first part is really cool.
Scene is pretty
cool.
Sure.
The second part, not so great when we see it like just with the Halloween head. And then we get this shot of him like being rebirthed. Oh!
Yeah. What the fuck was that? Like, what the fuck was that?
Oh. And then he's just like, then
I
his friend
hated
just
that.
shows up. His friend just knows that he's going to be at the Amityville house. So he shows up and he's like, get him out of here. So they get Sonny out. The police show up too, because now they know. And he gets put in the car and then the priest is laying there. Dude, the ending of this movie is atrocious because it starts, you see like the things happening on his hand. And then he's like, please, God, do not forsake me. Then we get a shot of the house for sale, and it ends. What do you guys think of this ending?
It's terrible.
Wah, wah, wah.
It's like they ran out of film.
It's like they ran out of thoughts.
They ran out of budget, and they're like, we got to wrap this up, guys.
You got a shot of the house? Let's just end with that.
Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah, it's like a wet fart, right? The ending?
It really is. I mean, you would imagine that they had some sort of a plan, but I don't see how this was it. You said there's alternate cuts of this movie?
There's an alternate cut. And let me read you some of this before we talk about. I mean, do you want to leave a review for it first, or do you want me to talk about this alternate stuff first?
We can. It doesn't matter. It's part of.
It's part of it. Okay. So apparently, his original cut was shown to test audiences, and several scenes had to be cut, either due to negative reaction. So one, Anthony Polly anally rapes Dolores. In another scene in which Sonny...
Who's Dolores?
Yeah.
The mom?
The mom, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then the scene, apparently we got an actual sex scene of Sonny and Patricia having sex, not just the illusion. He shot a sex scene.
Oh my God.
Who was the director of this movie?
Domineo Domini.
Mm.
So here's some other stuff. So apparently the sex scene was added into the script by the director who wanted to really upset viewers. That wasn't originally in the script, apparently.
Okay.
I mean, there are ways to upset
It is
viewers,
upsetting.
like
Yes.
killing the kids.
Yeah, the original scene was much more graphic, while the movie cuts to the next scene almost immediately after the kiss. Some deleted scenes. Let's see. There's not a lot more. There is a deleted scene that has never been released called the Lost Soul scene from near the end of the movie, in which the souls from within the house appear in front of the priest as he blesses it, which probably was cut because it looked terrible. I would imagine.
Wait, was that in the basement?
Yeah, we see a little bit of it in the basement where we see like rock monsters in the basement.
We see some kind of like hunchback ghost like
things. Yeah, in the basement.
Okay, I'm glad you guys saw that too. I was like, I'm not just making that up, right?
Right. So
yeah, I didn't know what that meant either.
That's really weird that bit is that bit was added to the I didn't know that scene was added to the script by the director.
I think he was just a little freaky.
Yeah, so the movie's based off the book Murder in Amityville, which is about Ronnie DeFeo. Basically, it's trying to explain why he killed his family. Instead of, so it's like kind of like a more of a true crime book from Hans Holzer. But yeah, so that's really, the movie was written by Tommy Lee Wallace, who we've done quite a few Tommy Lee Wallace movies. He's, you know, a John Carpenter guy.
Yeah.
And he did Stephen King's It and Halloween 3. So that's weird that whole incest scene was added. And the fact that he shot the dad and mom sexual assault is kind of messed up.
Yeah, that is. It's, yeah.
Because he wanted to disturb the audience, you see.
It's like, yeah, no, we don't need that.
No, we didn't need the incest scene either.
It's Amityville horror. It's supposed to be about a haunted house.
Yeah.
We don't need like stuff like that, right?
Yeah. I don't know why they decided that this was the best direction to go, which is the DeFeo kind of murders, as opposed to tell another story about a new family moving into the house.
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of do. They make it set kind of after the timeline's not really, you're not really sure about it.
Definitely, it could have been before, I guess, or
and it's the fictionalized DeFeo story, which is kind of in poor taste.
It's in poor taste, and I don't like that. But I get it that they would do that because the book, and they the first movie, and they're like, everybody talks about this like it's a real thing. So like there's the hype and the scariness of like maybe this is really happening to someone somewhere. Like,
I mean, there was a other Amityville book. There's a book called Amityville Part 2 that they could have based the movie on if they wanted to, and had George and Linda Lutz in it.
Wow.
But they decided to go in there, make that, instead of making the Lutz the main characters, which is what the book does, because they moved to a different place and they're still being haunted. Mm-hmm. They decided to make the house the main character.
Yeah.
And that's changed the franchise ever since. Because then every subsequent story is about the house.
Right. Which I do like the house.
In the house.
It's got a creepy like face structure to the house. Like
the house is iconic. Yeah.
I kind of like that shot of like the spinning too.
Yeah. Oh, there's a really cool spinning shot. Yeah. I said the camera work I think is really good in this. It was shot by Franco di Giacomo. He did a great job, I think. And of course, Lalo Schifrin did the music again, and it's fucking great. That's the best part of these movies is Lalo Schifrin's score.
Mm-hmm.
So guys, what do you think about Amityville II: The Possession?
I'll go first.
Which, by the way, is its official title. It's not the Amityville Horror 2. It's the Amityville. It's just called Amityville 2: The Possession.
Yep.
Derek, go ahead.
All right. So I'm going to give 2 ratings. What this movie probably could have been and what this movie actually is.
I don't know why you would do that instead of just rating the movie, but go ahead.
I am gonna give it. So this movie has potential. There's a couple of scenes that, like, if you take out or you change, I think really could have added to what this movie could have been. That being said, the movie that I won't give it a rating, I guess. But so the actual rating I'm going to give this movie is I'm going to give it a 5, mainly because the last 30 to 40 minutes make absolutely they're non-consequential. That it doesn't really make much sense why it's there.
Yeah, and they add nothing. Yeah,
you could have wrapped that up in 10 minutes instead of 40.
Yeah.
And made your audience.
We could have had more assault scenes, you know?
We could have had
that. Add as much essay as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give
Lydia
this movie a 5.
All right. Yeah, I think I'm gonna give it a 4. There definitely are some things that I like about this movie, but like as a whole, when I put this movie on, I started it, I was like, the music kicked in and I was like, this is going to be a cozy movie. And I was so happy. The first several minutes of the movie, I'm like, this is good. This is good. I don't regret anything about my choice tonight. So, and then we get to the basement with the mom and I'm like, okay, still cozy, still like this. This is good. And then everything after that was like, don't like this choice. Don't like this choice. So, I like the beginning and I like the special effects. Like I liked the demon thing, the face ripping apart. Like
it's cool.
That was cool.
Yeah, I even
cool. Liked the stupid mask that they used.
Halloween City, baby.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, it was entertaining and it was disturbing, but it could have been better. So yeah, 4. I'm gonna give it a 4.
I'm right in line with you guys. I think I'm going to give it about a 4 too. Because there are things about it that I do like. I really think the cinematography is great in this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the shot selections are great. I think the lighting is great. I think some of the camera moves are really good and really cool. I think there's some good atmosphere in certain scenes. I think the acting overall is pretty fun. I'm not going to say good, but fun. I think it's, all serviceable to the story. But the things I don't like, like the thing I mostly don't like about this movie, there's 2 things, is the kind of exploitation of the actual DeFeo tragedy is kind of gross. And most importantly, that last 40 minutes of the movie just sucks. Because you're absolutely right, Derek. And you're absolutely right, Lydia. 10 minutes, and if they did it in the prison, you could have wrapped that up in 10 minutes. Absolutely. You could have had, he gets arrested, the priest goes to visit him that same night, and in like an interrogation room, and then you have like a big exorcism scene, and he saves his soul. And either he saves his soul or he exorcises the demon. Well, he could still just exorcise the demon, and then he still goes to prison, but he's free. We wouldn't have as much animosity because we wouldn't have had to been sitting there for 25 minutes of this shit.
Yeah.
We'd have been in and out. I just think it's really weird that I think that the massacre scene happens too early. I think the problems could have been solved if they would have had that happen later, a little later, and then the quicker wrap up. Then the pacing would have been
more
better.
Spooky stuff going on. And I read that they cut out like the incest plot line when they aired it on television anyways.
So they do sometimes.
Cut it even more,
Sometimes. On Sci-Fi, they didn't cut it out. They just didn't show the boobs.
Right. I think it said on Fox or FX or something like that.
Yeah, probably. Because on the actual on Sci-Fi, the last time I watched it on the Sci-Fi channel, it was there, and I was like, "They're keeping this bit in, all right, I guess, all right."
Yeah, it's like you wonder why nobody ever talks about this movie ever.
It's
I've
the
never
last
heard
40
anyone
minutes.
talk about this.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
mean,
last 40 minutes and the incest. It's just odd.
well, really, the only thing that there is to talk about is the incest. It's really the only
Yeah.
interesting thing about it.
You're right. That's nobody wants to talk about that. Well, some
Yeah.
people might, but
Some
I
people might be
personally
into
don't.
Like that director for sure.
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You know who I think would think that this movie is very scary?
Who?
Priests. I think priests would find this movie very scary.
Yeah. Do you think this is better
about
than Amityville?
It's hard to say. What did we rate? What did we rate the first one? Because it's
Derek, look it up. I think that it's
I
more
think it is.
entertaining. I think it's
it is.
more entertaining for sure.
I hate to say it's better, but like it probably is better.
It's more fun, I think.
I mean, nothing happened in the first one.
That's the problem.
That is the problem. It's like such a loved, memorable movie that nobody remembers how bad it is.
Yeah, puts a slow and slow burn.
Yeah. We're like, ooh, he lost the money.
Dude, that's my favorite. That's the biggest fear. I lost my money. we harped on that for like 10 minutes, I think. We just couldn't get over it.
That's like the scariest thing that
because
happened.
that was the scariest part in real life. For like losing $20,000, that'd be terrifying.
Yeah. The difference, I think, is that the two main characters are so gorgeous. Like you can't help but
the two
watch them.
Yeah, they are great. Yeah, they are. Margot Kidder's great, and James Brolin is one handsome son of a bitch.
Yes, like they're just beautiful. So you're like, this is a good
especially
movie.
the magnificent beard he's got going on.
Yeah.
Well, nobody dies in that movie. And the most memorable thing about it is the freeze frame where they're going up the stairs, and it's like they get stuck.
The freeze frame, I forgot about that. Yeah.
What did we rate in real time? We rated it on average. It was a 5.3, and this one is a 4.3. Although I would say I enjoyed this movie better.
I think the other one's probably technically, like, the acting's way better than the original. Like, way better, I think.
Yeah, this one's acting was a little cheesy.
This one's aiming more for the cheese horror. The original is trying to be like prestige horror.
Right. Yeah, it's more of a
the
drama.
The original's trying to aim for the Omen, Rosemary's Baby, Exorcist style movie. This one's aiming towards the schlock.
Yeah. I mean, look at that.
But the schlock is just more entertaining to watch.
Party City demon alien mask.
Yes, exactly. It totally looked like an alien. You're right. It totally looked like an alien.
It's got big green eyes.
Yeah. Brrr. Take me to your leader. Like, what is going on? The birth an alien? Now, the big question. Who would Tom Atkins be in this movie? Let's Atkinize this.
Thrill me.
He'd be the priest.
I think you're right. I think he would be great as the priest.
He would be a way better priest.
I don't want to hate him for being a womanizing, wife-beating, child-beating asshole, so he's got to be the priest.
Yeah, and we don't want him to be Sonny because we don't want him to sleep with the sister either.
Although you couldn't blame her at that point.
No, that's true. You just can't stop that sexual magnetism.
It would be okay at that point.
You're like, I mean, I kind of get it.
I get it. I don't condone it, but I understand.
If Sonny had the charm of Tom Atkins, this would be a much different movie.
Yeah. I mean, really, you could have cast 80s Tom Atkins in that part, and it would have been age appropriate. How old is that? I'm going to see how old that actor is, that poor bastard.
How old is the girl, too?
I don't know. He doesn't have, let me go to IMDb.
He disappeared.
She's in a lot of stuff. Diane
I think
Franklin.
she did really good.
She was 62, or she was born in 62.
She was 62.
So she was 21 when this movie came out. So 20 when it was filmed.
Derek, were you just talking while muted?
No, Derek, you almost made it through the whole movie.
I did. I wasn't doing that. I didn't do that. I was miming. I mimed. I'm working on my mime skills.
I think Derek just said one word while muted. What was that word, Derek?
I said.
Oh, Derek, what are you doing?
I would have been fine if we hadn't got on this tangent.
Dude, I wasn't going to mention it because I was like, I'm not going to mention it, but Derek hasn't been muted this whole time. And I was like, yeah, this is, I'm going to just let it go. Maybe he'll make it. And then you.
Dude, nobody would have known if I'm so sorry for calling you out. I should have just kept it to myself, Derek.
You know what? We're going to cut this, and it's going to be an episode where I didn't mute myself. Yeah, she looks super young, even though she is 20.
She was 20?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does not look 20. I mean, it's believable that she's as young as.
So our guy was actually 28, even though he looked 35.
I mean, that's still 8 years older than her.
Yeah.
I mean, close to 30.
Yeah, he's basically 30. I don't know how old the Sunny character is supposed to be, is what's really weird.
Yeah, because at the birthday, you feel like you would have gotten an inkling as to what that would have been. But
yeah, good point. They should have said how old he was.
They couldn't, because they're like, man, we cast this actor before we realized that the character was supposed to be 17.
Yeah. When he's clearly 20.
He's a decade and a half older.
Yeah.
It's fine. Derek, it's your pick. What are you thinking?
I'm gonna go with Halloween 4.
Yeah,
Halloween 4.
All right.
Yep.
All right.
We can do that. That is 1988's Halloween 4, directed by. I completely forgot. Spaced it. Dwight H. Little. It's Dwight H. Little. Directed by Dwight H. Little. So it is the night he came back. It's Halloween 4. And let me see where that's streaming. I think they're all on Shudder, aren't they? It is available on AMC Plus, Sling TV, Amazon, the Roku channel. Oh. So those are all the places you can find Halloween 4.
Nice.
Or if you're like me, you just have the 4K set and you just watch it there. All right, Derek. Do you have a story for us? You said you did.
Do you remember what the context?
What was that? What was the prompt? Do you remember that, Lydia? He said it's something with somebody. You said that you're going to keep names out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, I can't tell you that one.
Yeah, tell it.
No, I can't. You know it, but I can't say that one on.
You said you were going to.
I can't. No, I said I wouldn't. I can't do that. I know you know the story, but I'm not telling that. I'm not doing it. It's too.
Tell us off mic what you're talking about.
All right.
Do you have another story?
Have I told the story about the time I farted in the video store?
Yes, you told that one several times, I think. You're just really proud of that story. While you're waiting, I've got a story for you.
Go for it.
Speaking of video stores. So, there's this one time, me and a group of my friends were at the video store, and because we used to go there after school. It was on my way home. Me and one of my friends' way home from school, so we'd stop there every day. It was a Blockbuster, and three of us went in there one time, and we're hanging out. And at the counter was a girl that one of my friends had went to school with earlier. And so we were getting our movie. I don't know if we even written anything, if we just walked up and we were talking to her. But throughout this conversation, he sees her and he's like, says her name. He's like, hey, Janice Johnson. And she's like, yeah. He's like, hey, it's me. And she's like, oh, hey. And he says, hey, you've changed. And as soon as he said it, me and my other friend were like, and we start laughing. We're like, that's the most fucking awkward thing we've ever heard. And we start laughing and we go outside and we're laughing hysterically because we're like, we got to let him, he's already killed any chance he has with this weird comment. So then we're standing outside and we're like looking in the window and she's got her back to us so she can't see us. Only he can. And we're like, you've changed. Go through the window. We do like the cable guy. We lift up our shirt and put it on the. We're like, oh, Billy. And he's just like trying to talk to this girl, seeing us. He's like, he comes out and he's like, you guys, what are you doing? And we're like, hey, you changed.
That is messed up.
Man, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do. That was a classic. Also, in that same video store, there's a time that there used to be a section that used to be the porn, the adult video section, the porn section. It got transformed once Blockbuster took, because it used to be a video stop. Blockbuster took it over, so it became once Blockbuster took over, they didn't have pornographic movies. So they took the section out and turned it into the video game room. So we're in the video game room looking for games. This old guy walks in. He walks into that room. I grab a game. I'm walking up. I'm standing by the counter, have a couple in my hand, trying to decide which one I'm gonna get. And my friends are with me again. And this old guy, we see him. He goes into the video game room, comes out, goes up to the front desk, and he says, "Hey, do you guys not have dirty movies anymore?" And he's like in his 60s, scraggly old man. He's like, "Do you guys not have any dirty movies anymore?" I fucking died. I was like, what?
Oh my gosh.
So I laugh. I go into the old porn room and I'm just laughing away. And I was like, dude, so it's always awkward that you have that back in the day when you had to rent porn from the video store, but let alone going into a place that doesn't have it anymore. And you're like, where's the porn?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
That's pretty hilarious.
Did you think of a story?
Nope. But all those were great.
Yeah, those were good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those we have to do. Derek, you have to think of one. You let us down this week. Talking while muted towards the end of the whole project.
I hope the little intro is Jamie's story time.
It will be. It will be. It'll say Jamie's this time. It'll probably say Derek's with his name crossed out and mine over it.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. That is our show. A little update. I worked on the newest feature, which is what we're working towards next. I worked on writing that. I was up till about 2 a.m, plugging away. So the script's coming along. It's almost finished, and you'll get some more updates on that very soon. But I wanted to update you on what we're doing. Derek and I just bought some new equipment for the studio, some big equipment, some camera equipment. So we're looking forward to shoot the next short before we move on to this feature. When you can keep up to date with all that stuff, if you go to HiLaProductions.com, you can follow us on Instagram at Scream Bloody Movies. You can follow us on Facebook at HiLa Productions. You can follow each of us on Twitter. You can follow Lydia at Lydia Spooky. Follow Derek at DDoglyMaster, and you can follow me at Racket. Be sure to go to those streaming services or your DVD collection and watch Halloween 4 for next week, when we will be digging into the night he came home. There's nothing else for Derek Master and Lydia Judy. I'm Jamie Hiles. Remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies.